Chapter 1. One day, the Buddha was strolling alone by the edge of the lotus pond in paradise. The lotus flowers blooming in the pond were all as white as pearls, and from their golden stamens in the center, an indescribably pleasant fragrance continuously filled the air. It must have been morning in paradise. Soon, the Buddha stopped by the edge of the pond and looked down through the lotus leaves covering the water's surface. Below this lotus pond in paradise lay the depths of hell, and through the crystal-clear water, the scenery of the Sanzu River and the Mountain of Needles could be seen as clearly as if looking through a spyglass. There, at the bottom of hell, the Buddha's eyes caught sight of a man named Kandata writhing among the other sinners. This man, Kandata, was a notorious thief who had committed many evil deeds, such as murder and arson. However, he had one memory of a good deed. It happened when he was passing through a deep forest and saw a small spider crawling along the roadside. Kandata instinctively raised his foot to crush it, but then thought, No, even this small creature has a life. It's too cruel to take its life without reason. So he spared the spider's life. As the Buddha observed the scene in hell, he recalled that Kandata had once saved a spider. He decided that in return for this one good deed, he would try to save Kandata from hell if possible. Fortunately, nearby on a jade-colored lotus leaf, a spider from paradise was spinning a beautiful silver thread. The Buddha gently took the spider's thread in his hand and lowered it straight down to the depths of hell, far below, through the white lotus flowers like pearls. Chapter 2. Here, at the bottom of hell in the blood pond, Kandata was floating and sinking among the other sinners. Everywhere he looked, it was pitch dark, and occasionally something would faintly emerge from the darkness, which turned out to be the terrifying needles of the Mountain of Needles glistening. The desolation was overwhelming. Furthermore, the surroundings were as silent as a grave, and the only sound was the faint sighs of the sinners. Those who had fallen here were already exhausted from the various torments of hell and had lost even the strength to cry out. Thus, even Kandata, the notorious thief, was choking on the blood of the pond, struggling like a dying frog. One day, as Kandata absent-mindedly looked up at the sky above the blood pond, he saw a silver spider's thread descending silently from the distant heavens, shining faintly as if avoiding being seen. Seeing this, Kandata clapped his hands in joy. If he could cling to this thread and climb up, he would surely escape from hell. If things went well, he might even reach paradise. Then, he would no longer be driven up the Mountain of Needles or submerged in the blood pond. With this thought, Kandata immediately grasped the spider's thread with both hands and began to climb upward with all his might. Being a seasoned thief, he was well accustomed to such endeavors. However, the distance between hell and paradise was countless miles, and no matter how much he hurried, he couldn't easily reach the summit. After climbing for a while, Kandata grew weary and could no longer ascend. So he decided to rest, clinging to the thread and gazing far below. To his relief, the blood pond where he had been was now obscured in the depths of darkness, and the terrifying Mountain of Needles, faintly glowing, lay beneath his feet. At this rate, escaping from hell might not be as difficult as he had thought. Holding on to the spider's thread, Kandata laughed, uttering words he hadn't spoken in years. I've done it. However, when he looked down, he noticed countless sinners following him, climbing up the thread like a line of ants. Kandata was struck with fear and disbelief, his mouth agape, eyes wide open. This thin spider's thread, which seemed barely able to support him alone, couldn't possibly bear the weight of so many people. If it were to break, he who had climbed so far would fall back into hell. That would be disastrous. As the sinners continued to climb in hundreds and thousands, Kandata shouted in a loud voice, "Hey, you sinners! This spider's thread is mine. Who gave you permission to climb it? Get down! Get down!" At that moment, the spider's thread, which had been fine until then, suddenly snapped with a sound from where Kandata was hanging. Unable to do anything, Kandata plummeted, spinning like a top, back into the depths of darkness. Afterward, only the spider's thread from paradise remained, shimmering faintly, hanging short in the sky without moon or stars. Chapter 3. The Buddha stood by the lotus pond in paradise, watching the entire scene unfold. When Kandata sank like a stone to the bottom of the blood pond, the Buddha, with a sorrowful expression, resumed his stroll. Kandata's selfish desire to escape hell alone, and the fitting punishment he received for such a heart, must have seemed pitiful to the Buddha. However, the lotus flowers in paradise paid no heed to such matters. Their pearl-like white blooms swayed gently around the Buddha's feet, and from their golden stamens in the center, an indescribably pleasant fragrance continuously filled the air. It must have been nearing noon in paradise.